Hi, so I am Australian. I have been living in Singapore for about a year, and I've been wanting to make this video for a while because lots of people tend to ask me, oh, I've heard Singapore's really expensive. Like, what would you say is really expensive? And I could cut the video short and just say everything, but then we would have no video. Yeah, here's my list of things that are surprisingly expensive. But the number one thing that I just like mind blown, I can't believe how expensive it is getting a driver's license in Singapore. So I don't drive in Singapore, but oh my God, it's so expensive. So to get a license, you have to, I'm pretty sure you have to enter like a driving school. There's all sorts of fees attached to that and like insurance and blah, blah, blah. But not only that, you need to get a certificate of eligibility. It costs $50,000. I'm not even kidding you. I'm really hoping that that's only like a one-time fee, like you just pay it once and that's it. But holy crap, that's so expensive. So actually a lot of Singaporeans just don't have a license. You don't really need to in most places. Public transport gets you a lot of places and quite cheaply. Let me know in the comments if you've got a license in Singapore, do you have to pay that like every single year? Because that's a lot. Next on my list, just like health foods in general. Even in Australia, health foods are quite expensive, but some of them are like crazy. Like it's a joke. Sometimes I'll be standing in cold storage and then I'll pick up something in the health foods, like, not buying that, put that back on the shelf. I mean, I'll just say health foods in general, but like for example, a bunch of kale, $7. No, nowhere, $7, thank you. Almond milk is between $5 and $10 a bottle, like actually. Chia seeds for 500 grams, that is $40. My personal favorite, Manuka Honey, $90. $90 for honey, it's not worth it. I don't know who is buying these products to make them be like, yeah, $90. That seems like a good price. Who is buying that? I don't know. If you are, let me know in the comments, because you must be doing well. Next is dairy. It's surprisingly expensive. Obviously, it's in the video. Like yogurt, for example. I don't know, you can buy like normal yogurt, and that can be fairly cheap depending on the brand that you get. But if you get like Greek yogurt, for example, like the 1 kilo thing of Greek yogurt be $8. Even like dips, like, you know, like the little dip of like hummus or something like that. That's like $6.70 for a little thing of hummus, which is crazy. Of course, with everything that I'm saying, you can find it cheaper in some places, but you've got to look around for it a little bit. But if you just kind of like get here and you're like, okay, I need to buy this, it's gonna add up pretty quickly, especially if you're at cold storage. This next one is like, oh, it's so shocking to me. Every time I see it, I just look at it and I'm like, what? Why? And that's like the salt and pepper, like grinder shaker things. It's so expensive for like just a small one, $9. Why? It's just salt. It comes from the ocean. I don't understand. But you can also buy, right next to it, they'll be selling like a giant bag of table salt for like 50 cents or something. It's crazy. I'm like, why are they so drastically different when they're literally the same thing, except the giant bag is like got 10 times more volume in it? I don't know, it must be something to do with the fact that it's a typically Western kind of thing, maybe, like the salt and pepper grinders. I have no idea. Another thing is sunscreen. Sunscreen is so expensive. For a country that's so hot all the time and really sunny, it's really expensive. A tiny little bottle, like it was no bigger than the size of my hand, of Banana Boat, which I know is the expensive brand. Banana Boat, it was $20 for a 90ml bottle. That's a bottle that's small enough to go in the carry-on cabin in the airplane. Like that's how small it was. It was $20. Just crazy. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Even things like Panadol, like you can get like the normal regular kind of packet of Panadol, that'll be like $9. I did find Nurofen the other day for $7.50, I think, so that was all right. Next one on the list is red meat. Not surprisingly so, because obviously there's not a lot of like, what are they called? Not abattoirs, the place where they kill the cows. Oh, that's awful. It can be like $62 a kilo for a sirloin steak. Another thing that is very expensive, of course, it's a big thing for many expats, especially Australians, I think. Alcohol, so expensive in Singapore, holy crap. It made me really happy that I'm not a big drinker, because it can just break the bank. Going out to any kind of like club or bar or whatever, if you want to buy a cocktail, it's probably about $20. That's like a standard price. I don't know how much beers are. I don't even look at the price because beers taste disgusting. But if you want to like make your own alcohol at home, I'd be like, oh, that's gonna be quite cheap. That's where you're wrong, sir. They put like a huge import tax on alcohol, so it's so expensive. A 6-pack of Budweiser, $20. I don't know if that's really expensive. Doesn't sound expensive to me, but I don't know. I don't drink beer, so. Smirnoff Vodka, 700 mils of Smirnoff Vodka in cold storage was $72. But the thing is, if you're coming into Singapore and you go through the duty-free section, that is when you can make the most savings ever because they're much, much cheaper. That's why they've got such big restrictions there. So I think you can get like 1 bottle of wine and a bottle of spirits, or like 1 6-pack of beer and a bottle of spirits, or like 2 wines or something like that. There's like a limit to how much alcohol you can buy. So whenever you've got like a friend coming through like from a vacation or something, it's like, hey, can you get me some Baileys? Because it's so much cheaper. I think you can get, I feel like you can get like the same Smirnoff bottle of vodka for about, I want to say like $35, which is a huge reduction. That's like half the price. Another thing that is very expensive, surprisingly, is condoms. Are very, very expensive in Singapore. For like just the small packet, I think there was only like 6 of them in there or something. It was $20. $20! That's like $4 every time. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I found that to be very surprisingly expensive, and I don't know for what reason, but yeah, just surprising. Another thing that I found to be very expensive that I guess I was kind of expecting it to be like this. I think a lot of people when they travel to Asia, they would assume that massages would be really cheap, which is so true because in, you know, obviously in the poorer countries like Thailand and Vietnam, Cambodia, that kind of thing, you just get massages for like $5 an hour. They can just be crazy, crazy, crazy cheap. Not the case in Singapore. They're very well off, so the massages are about $60 an hour. It's usually around the equivalent of $1 a minute. You can go and get some cheaper massages, I think, in Chinatown, but they're not always the best quality. It doesn't have like the calming kind of atmosphere. And the final thing on my list that is just so funny to me, and that is something that I used to eat quite a lot of, and I love this particular thing. I don't even know why I like it so much. That is string cheese. It's actually, yeah, for a 6-pack, $17 for a 6-pack of string cheese. Just ridiculous. In Australia, I can get a 12-pack for $6. That's 50 cents each. A 6-pack for $17, that's like, it's like $2.50-ish each. Crazy. No, it's not worth $2.50 for a piece of cheese. No thank you, although it's delicious. I have bought it at least once. And there are a whole bunch of other kinds of expensive things in Singapore, mainly food related, obviously, because that's the main thing that you're buying quite constantly. But yeah, in general, like lots of things are expensive in Singapore. There's a lot of things that were kind of on my list, but they weren't like surprisingly expensive. Oh, but also keep in mind that for the food products, I was in cold storage. So usually everything in cold storage is about roughly like 10 to 20% higher than it would be in like Fair Price or Giant. So that's a good tip if you're on a budget. Don't shop at cold storage. But the good part is that you can actually find the brands and the things you actually need. I found that when I was living in Japan, there's just some things that you cannot find, even at international stores. But in Singapore, I can pretty much find everything that I need for whatever recipe, whatever I'm cooking. So I really like that aspect about living in Singapore. So yeah, that's pretty much my list of things that I find to be surprisingly expensive in Singapore. There's obviously many more things that could make the list, but I didn't want this video to be too long. I don't know, let me know in the comments below, do these things seem expensive to you? Because obviously I'm Australian, so these are only relative to what my perception of expensive and cheap is based on living in Australia. So maybe where you're from, they're not that expensive. Like maybe if you live in Switzerland, you're like, oh, $9 for a salt shaker, that's not bad. So let me know in the comments if you're living in Singapore, if you agree with me, disagree with me, and where I can find cheap string cheese, that'd be great. And yeah, soon I'll be making another video about the surprisingly cheap things to find in Singapore. So stay tuned for that one. Also let me know in the comments if there's anything else you would like me to film while I'm here. And Yeah. I'll see you next time. Bye.